Thanks, guys. Atlanta loves Bobby Jones because that's his hometown. I took the 2-hour drive west of Augusta to find out more about that connection. I would be thinking about this important piece of trivia. What does a man named Fulton Colville have to do with any of it? Instead of Magnolia Lane, it has an avenue of oaks. Welcome to Eastlake, the golf course where Bobby Jones grew up.
Well, it's a great story because Bobby came out here as a 5-year-old, maybe 4, with his parents. And they rented a summer cottage every year.
Dr. Linton Hopkins should know. He wrote the book on the early years of the golfing legend.
He first saw Stuart Maiden out here, who was the club pro from Scotland, and he just watched. I don't think he ever got a lesson. He copied this man's Carnoustie swing, and that's the swing that he grew up with.
His talent showed itself at an early age, state amateur champion by the time he was 14. But Hopkins says young Bob Jones Jr. shared something else that will be familiar to all of us who've ever hit a bad shot. He had a temper.
One time, a club he threw bounced over and hit a woman in the gallery. He was just horrified.
As for the early years, the little boy they all call Bob didn't really start playing golf on this beautiful manicured course, but it wasn't far from here. It really started right over there on a dirt road that used to run right along the 10th hole. That's where they put the first club in Bobby Jones' hands. It was basically a cut-down 3-iron to fit him. He dug a couple of holes about 50 yards apart and started practicing. The old house is still standing over on Daniel Avenue, but looks like this today. Lisa Walker just happened to be walking her dog when she overheard me telling this story.
My husband and I bought the Bobby Jones house right here across from the 10th fairway.
You live at the Jones house?
We live in the Jones house. That's where he got his first golf club.
And what's your dog's name?
Bobby Jones.
They call him Jonesy, and he was anxious to keep walking. As you can see, Eastlake holds a special place for the little boy who played his first round here and the legend who played his last. There are portraits and exact replicas from the trophies from 1930, golf's Grand Slam. There's a whole room full of memories and memorabilia with his name outside the door. But there's another place you should see. It sits in the shadow of Atlanta's skyscrapers. Oakland Cemetery is the final resting place of Bobby Jones. The signs point the way, but today we have a guide. Bob Jones IV is the great golfer's grandson. He leads us to a gravesite always littered with golf balls. Some include a message like this one, signed Tiff.
Tiff wrote on here, "Golf is the closest game to the game we call life."
Fitting tribute to the little boy named Bob, the golfer we called Bobby, and the grandfather he calls Bub. So what happens to all these balls?
The ones that are really good, in the past, I have collected them and sent them to my sister, who has sent them to the First Tee in Nashville. And
I think Bub would approve of that.
I think Bub would definitely approve of that.
I like that the grandkids still call him Bub. What a perfect way to remember Bobby Jones in his own hometown. Oh, and if you're wondering about Fulton Colville, he lived in that same boarding house where the Jones family was staying near Eastlake. He's the man who saw the little boy and put the first golf club in Bobby Jones' hands. Never underestimate an act of kindness to a child.